So we got Erebus, the horriblest heretic of them all. I've never seen that word, horriblest. Shout out to Orbit Ian, man. Y'all really enjoy me reacting to his video. So here we are again, y'all. Is it? Oh, it's muted. My bad.
Desert planet. A small child sits in the hard packed dust, engaging in the traditional pastime of a certain sort of child, pulling the legs off of the local wildlife. But this particular creature is no spider or fly, it's a poisonous desert scorpion. This pastime has landed the child in trouble before, laid up in the sickbed with a fever, even potentially close to death. But he keeps doing it anyway, thrilled by the feeling of being close to danger and the intoxicating power he holds over the creature if he succeeds. It's a feeling he would continue to chase his whole life, with creatures way more powerful than a mere scorpion. Today, we're going to talk about the horriblest heretic of them all, the unequivocal biggest bastard in 40k, EREBUS.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Get into it, let's go.
EREBUS is a dick. Born into squalor, he would eventually rise to become one of the most prominent figures of the Great Crusade and one of the chief architects of the Horus heresy, the first chaplain of the Word-bearers, the Hand of Destiny, Dark Apostle of Chaos. It was his actions more than any other that laid the ground for the collapse of the nascent Imperium and the galactic civil war that followed, and in the 41st millennium he remains a significant threat to the Imperium. But his actions were never really the result of some grand plan or long-term ambition on his part, but a series of opportunities taken and an unwavering belief that he was exactly where he needed to be.
Okay.
The child that would...
Now, I'm gonna keep it real. I think I've heard like the name Erebus before, but you know, obviously I've never really heard like, you know, of like his past or whatever. You know, we're just gonna keep it real. Like, we ain't even gonna cap. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like some lore channels, what they do is if they're talking about like a certain character, this character can just be absolute trash. But I feel like some lore channels, like West Hammer, and I feel like Orbit Inn also do a good job of like highlighting and like basically making them seem like they're more important than they actually are. I'm not trying to, like, you know, write off Erebus or nothing like that, but at the same time, I mean, we gonna really see like if he's comp or not. Like, if he's not comp, like, I'll say it to his face, like, bro, you're trash, get out of here. But at the same time, you know, we'll see.
Eventually become Erebus was not born to a prominent family or an ancient martial culture. He was, in his own words, gutter trash. Born into a poor settlement on the desert planet of Colchis, he had little regard for, well, anything really. He hated the heat and the poverty and the dust, and probably sand too.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating.
He hated his parents and resisted all their attempts to encourage him to learn a trade or take education. He existed in a world of casual violence and scorpion torture, a delinquent, until eventually he saw a way out. One of the many things he had little regard for was faith. The culture of Colchis was intensely religious, ruled over by a church known as the Covenant, who worshipped the Old Faith, a pantheon of 4 great powers.
Let me see. Hold on, let me see. Who are these guys? Okay, wait. So is this like Slanesh? This could be Slanesh. This could be Korn because he had like the sword in his hand. First of all, bro, put some pants on, bro. And then I think this could be Zinch, and that's Nurgle. Cause like if you put like the color waves together, Nurgle is like mostly green. Slanesh, I mean, she got the things out, so you know she down with it. That's Slanesh. He got like Korn is mostly red, and like, you know, he's like a fighting type, and then Zinch is like the, oh wow, I did not know that.
While it might have been that the Covenant were a pious and worthy organization in the big cities, Out in the poor settlements, most of the preachers and priests were corrupt, easily swayed by drink, fed by the populace, and spending the alms they collected on their own appetites. And despite not really caring for religion itself, our subject thought a life of petty power over the ignorant faithful sounded pretty good. And so one night he took his chance. He crept up on the settlement's star pupil, a boy he'd always been unfavourably compared to, and strangled him to death, stealing his identity. He shaved his head like the boy, adopted the pious child's practice of inking.
He's a school threat. I don't like him. Menace to society. I don't like him. Bro, what?
Holy text on his skin, dressed himself in the dead boy's clothes, and even stole his name.
You stole bro's whole... What? Do you know how... I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care if bro, like... I don't care if he shot me up. I don't care if he, like, you know, stabbed me a bunch of times, whatever. I don't care what he did to me. No lie, bro. I don't even care if he injected me with the lethal injection. No lie, bro. If you take, like, my clothes and everything, bro, yo, I'm gonna pop up like the Undertaker. Bro, no lie. Like, what are you talking about? Huh? I gotta pop a quick revive right there.
EREBUS, vanishing off into the desert. Soon he was a novice in the capital city of Varadesh, sweeping the floors while learning by rote the words and sayings, walking the walk of the corrupt priests, when something unexpected happened. In the mirrors of an altar, he caught his first glimpse of what truly lie beyond, the basis for the old faith. A vision of the chaos powers. I felt a shiver run through me despite the ever-present heat. I was a petty thief, a minor speck within the iris of eternity, but I knew I could do things for these presences I felt that had always been there, lingering over my minor cruelties. The Covenant was their plaything. Perhaps other institutions could be used in a similar way. Faith is an interesting word for what EREBUS had gained. He certainly believed that the chaos powers were real and powerful, and he should serve them, but how much of it was his desire to be close to the centre of that power, to be on the edge of something dangerous, is uncertain. Either way, from this point on, he dedicated himself to their service, trusting that their plans would always make sure he was in the right place, at the centre. And soon, the Covenant itself underwent huge changes. The Primarch Lorgar appeared from the desert, alongside his foster father, the ancient preacher Cor Theron, leading a crusading army and converting the Covenant to a new faith. Lorgar was the prophet of the one true God, the master of mankind, who arrived soon after, and he converted them once again, this time to the light of reason and science, the imperial truth. The youth of Colchis was swept up in the recruitment campaigns of the 17th Legion, the Imperial Heralds, who were soon to be renamed by their newly found Primarch, dubbed the Bearers of the Word, and despite this new era of reason, it was clear what the Word was, that the Emperor was a god and Lorgar his servant, a belief encouraged within the new Word-Bearers Legion, even if it was at odds with the Imperium at large. But through all this change and turmoil, EREBUS stayed true, confident that his Chaos Gods had a plan. He made sure he was at the centre of this new power. When Lorgar appeared, he outwardly became one of the faithful, professing his devotion to the new creed in the sure knowledge that the Emperor was in truth his enemy.
Okay, so he just started glazing. Okay, cool. I mean, here's the thing. I don't really like the Emperor or whatever, but at the same time, like, having the Emperor as like your enemy, that's just like... I don't want to say that's dumb, but like, because obviously, bro, if the Emperor was my enemy, bro, like, I'm legit, like, I'm giving the Emperor a whole Mortal Kombat combo, and he's not coming back from it. Like, no lie, bro. Like, flawless victory. Like, bro, he's not. I'm hitting him with every single fatality, bro. Back to back to back to back. Like, no lie to you. Like, seriously. But like, for him, somebody as bummish as him, like, I mean, that's a pretty dumb idea.
When the Legion arrived, he underwent the trials and surgeries required willingly, despite thinking them monstrous. Within the Legion, he distinguished himself not as a commander or a strategist, but as a preacher, an advisor, and became one of the Word-Bearers' chaplains, preaching the good news of the God Emperor to the populations the Legion subjugated, and biding his time until an opportunity arose. And that time, after decades of warfare in the name of his enemy was to come after the censuring of the 17th Legion at the hands of the Emperor and of the Ultramarines. 36 years before the ascension of Horus to Warmaster, the Emperor summoned the entire Word-Bearers Legion to the planet of Kur, a planet originally brought into compliance by the Word-Bearers and now fanatically religious. The capital city, Monarchia, was known by them as the Perfect City, a city of great cathedrals and monuments to the God Emperor. It was in ruins. After years of troubling reports, the Emperor had decided to act. Constant slow progress by the Legion as they took the time to indoctrinate their conquests, and the evidence that they had continued to worship the Emperor as a god went directly against the tenets of the Imperial truth, and as the Great Crusade was coming to an end, enough was enough. The Emperor had descended to Kur alongside the Ultramarines Legion, who had emptied the Perfect City and then annihilated it from orbit.
Damn.
When the Word-Bearers arrived, they were forced to kneel in the dust of Monarchia and were rebuked by the Emperor. He was not a god, and their worship must stop. The intention here was to serve a warning and teach a lesson. The Emperor thought that the Word-Bearers were still redeemable, that Lorgar could still be brought round, and the choice of the Ultramarines was a deliberate one. The Ultramarines were also empire builders and governors, leaders who aimed for a future of unity, and their secular empire of Ultramar was both forward-thinking.
Hey, if you really, my bad, if you really think about it, bro, a lot of these wars and a lot of these conflicts in Warhammer, bro, is over the most stupidest things of all time. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just me, y'all. Maybe just like that's just how I think. But like a lot of these conflicts, like, are just they're just like they're over dumb reasoning. Like, is it just me, y'all? Like, y'all let me know down below. What do y'all think about that? Like, I feel like they're not fighting for anything valuable. Like, it's just like they just fighting just to fight, basically. Like,
fast growing, but Lorgar
listen. I know that's the name. Like, I'm stuttering crazy. I know that's like the name of the game. Obviously, Warhammer, and like, you know, they don't. I know for like if there was a war or like a battle for like, you know, every single book or whatever, I understand if like Games Workshop was like, bro, we don't want to like have like this long just extended reason of why like everybody's fighting, and they just fighting over like, oh well, you worship the Emperor, so we gotta kill you. Like, I mean, I guess, but at the same time, like, they're legit fighting over like Captain Crunch cereal. It's crazy.
Take this as a warning. He felt humiliated and his faith was shattered. Without direction, he went into seclusion, and in this moment of weakness, EREBUS made his move. By this point, EREBUS had risen high in the Legion. He was first chaplain, a confidant to the Primarch, and the inked lettering had long been replaced with tattooed scripture from the Book of Lorgar across his scalp. It was EREBUS, alongside Corphaeron, who reminded Lorgar of the old faith of Colchis. EREBUS and Corphaeron, the Primarch's adopted father and now first captain of the Legion, never really got on, too often rivals for the Primarch's attention, but they both knew of the old faith, and they both witnessed evidence of its variants as they'd fought the Great Crusade. Versions of the old faith, or things similar to it, being found on a multitude of worlds in their path. If the Emperor truly was no god, maybe Lorgar would be interested in some real eldritch powers. It was EREBUS and Corphaeron who organised the Pilgrimage, Lorgar's quest into the Eye of Terror for proof of the Chaos powers, and when he had that proof, it was EREBUS and Corphaeron who slowly corrupted the entire Legion to the worship of Chaos over the next few decades. Now able to act somewhat openly, the Word-Bearers were on paper still loyal, but the galaxy's a big place, EREBUS was able to put more plans into action. He journeyed to the recently conquered world of Davin, and finding the ruins of an ancient chaos-worshipping society there, ordered the locals to start rebuilding their old temples.
Oh no. I already know he got some type of succubus, evil demonic demons inside of him. I already know. Bro, there's no way, yo, you couldn't pay me. There's not any amount of money you could pay me to travel here. Bro, this is legit a serpent. Like, why would I, like, go here?
foreseeing that they might come in handy one day. Over the next few years, Lorgar would send out emissaries to many of the legions under the guise of spreading the role of chaplain, but also with instructions to create alternate power structures throughout them, the warrior lodges so common in the late Crusade. As first chaplain, Erebus was dispatched to the Lunar Wolves as chaplain to Horus himself, and he quickly became well known throughout that legion, a confidant of the Warmaster and a regular in the training cages, sparring against the Lunar Wolves captains. It was from that position, again close to the centre of power, that he was able to make his next most fateful move. During a diplomatic visit to a rediscovered human civilization known as the Interex, Erebus stole an ancient demon weapon, the Anathame, prompting a war when the Interex discovered its loss. He passed this Anathame in...
Bro, was this thing just like sitting in the grass? Like, how did he steal it? like, bro, huh? Why is it like? Why is this? How did you steal it? Like, did he like pay somebody to like take it for him? Like, bro, did he like slide Catwoman a bag and she stole it for him? Like, how did you do it? I'm gonna keep it real, because I imagine something like this is like locked up inside of like 3 buildings in one. Yo, no lie, you telling me that like I wouldn't be able to hear bro's footsteps? Yo, he looks humongous.
Secret to Eugen Tember, the new governor of Davin, who was eventually corrupted by it and turned traitor against the Imperium. When news of this reached the Warmaster, Erebus stoked Horus's need for vengeance, since Davin had first been brought into compliance by the Lunar Wolves. In a meeting on the surface, he framed Tember as betraying not just the Imperium, but Horus himself, leading Horus to go after Tember personally. The resulting duel on the moon of Davin saw Horus wounded by the demon weapon and struck into a deep coma, whereupon Erebus convinced the now Sons of Horus captains to allow him to seek a spiritual cure, sequestering the Warmaster away in the Serpent Lodge on Davin, the same one he'd ordered reconstructed a few years before. In the warp, Erebus had the priests of Davin project him into Horus's consciousness, where he enacted his true masterpiece, corrupting Horus to the side of chaos. He showed him visions of a nightmare future where Horus's contributions were forgotten. He framed the Emperor as a liar and a murderer.
So he was the one. So whenever Horus got like hit with that, you know, whenever he got hit with that, whenever he got hit with that spell or whatever, this man Erebus legit fed him a bunch of lies. So it's basically he was the one that basically got the he basically got the Horus. I said got the Horus. He basically got Horus packed up. Wow.
And played on Horus's sense of wounded pride at being left to run the crusade on his own. By the end, Horus was resigned to rebellion.
So he was really just pulling the strings for Horus then. Well, not for Horus, but he basically like manipulated Horus in a way.
Much of all of this was like meticulously pre-planned is impossible to tell. Erebus had a habit of putting things in motion and then waiting to see how they could be best turned to the service of his masters. Though the intention was obviously to corrupt Horus eventually, just like with the corruption of Lorgar, it's likely that Erebus just waited until an opportunity presented itself and then took it, trusting that with the theft of the Anathame, events could be manipulated to his favour. But however it was planned, Horus did eventually fall. During the early heresy, Erebus stayed by the side of the Warmaster, planning the culling of the legions at Isfahan III, and later being instrumental in the betrayal at the Dropsite Massacre on Isfahan V. But after the Dropsite Massacre, he rejoined his legion as they journeyed to the eastern fringe and participated in the Battle of Calth, eventually declaring the betrayal of the Ultramarines and the millions dead at Calth a great sacrifice to the dark gods, and raising the Ruin Storm, a vast warp storm that would keep the Eastern Galaxy and the Loyalist legions active there, isolated from events on Terra and unable to intervene. From there, Erebus joined his Primarch Lorgar and the World Eaters Legion on the Shadow Crusade, rampaging through the worlds of Ultramar, but it was here that he started to overstep his mark with both his own Primarch and with the Warmaster. Seeing himself as the true hand of the gods, he became more and more arrogant, attempting to corrupt...
Duh. I'm surprised I didn't catch up with him. Duh.
a third Primarch, he pushed for the deployment of the Blood Angels and their Primarch, Sanguinius, to Cygnus Prime, something Lorgar strongly disagreed with, and during the Shadow Crusade, experiencing visions from his patrons, he murdered Argel Tal, leader of the Word-Bearers Galvorbak and one of Lorgar's favourites, when he saw that Argel Tal's friendship with Khan of the World Eaters would stop Khan becoming the chosen of the Chaos Power Khorne. This on its own led to a narrow escape. When he found himself fighting for his life against Khan in the World Eaters' dueling pits, he narrowly managed to escape through the use of dark magic, but it wasn't the last wound he was going to suffer from an ally. When he returned to the War Master's side and found that the plan to corrupt the Blood Angels had failed, he raged at Horus himself, blaming him for the failure of his plan. Horus, using Erebus's own Athame dagger, flayed the chaplain's tattooed flesh from his skull and banished him from his sight for his insolence. He was now somewhat removed from the centre of power, unwelcome in the court of Horus or at the side of Lorgar, but for the rest of the heresy, Erebus continued to manipulate events to the benefit of the Dark Gods, turning up at various pivotal moments to be a bastard all over the place, led only by his visions and his use of Athame daggers to cut through space-time, sometimes in disguise and sometimes making use of...
So wait a minute, so bro got banned and he's still causing mayhem. Bro got banned and he's still a menace to society. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. If I got banned from somewhere, bro, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, I'm gonna chill out a little bit. Yo, he didn't even let up. The evil still working through him.
Allies within the traitor legions. He dispatched word-bearers forces to Traoris under Valdrek Elias to acquire the ultimate MacGuffin of the heresy, the Fulgurite, an ancient artifact that he foresaw could be used to kill a Primarch. He eventually betrayed Elias, giving the Fulgurite to the Cabal agent John Grammaticus in the hope that it would be used to kill Vulcan, but for plot reasons...
Oh, yeah. I don't like him. Yeah, he's a bum. I mean, like, I already didn't like him because he was a menace to society, but since he tried to take out my goat, he's a bum. He's literally a bum, bro. Like, seriously, he's so bum, it's just crazy.
Work out. During the early Solar War, he appeared under the guise of a dark apostle known as the Unspeaking, which is different to the chapter of the Unspeaking, also in the Word-Bearers, and worked with Ahriman of the Thousand Suns to create the warp rift that allowed the traitor forces to bypass the defences of the solar system and assault Terra directly. Once the siege of Terra was underway, he then sought out and killed Erda, the reclusive perpetual who helped the Emperor create the Primarchs in the first place, and
oh, so he killed the Emperor's girl? He killed the Emperor's BM?
and then followed the trail of her thoughts to attack the companions of Ol Person on the walls of the Imperial Palace, trying to prevent them from reaching and helping the Emperor. He was stopped by Actai, formerly Cyrene Valantian of the Word-Bearers, and buried under the rubble of the Imperial walls, but he popped up again to fight alongside Abaddon in the final hours, using his dark powers to prevent Constantin Valador.
Bro, yo, he's just a menace to society. He's legit a school threat, bro. He needs to be like locked up forever, like no lie.
From reaching Lupercal's court to aid the Emperor. And then, finally, after the defeat of Horus, as Abaddon and his company took possession of the vengeful spirit and attempted their escape, he killed Garviel Loken, the last loyal Lunar Wolf, creating a cycle of events in the warp that would lead to the creation of the demon Samus and the start of the heresy in the first place. And all because of, evil or something. Of course, after the heresy, the vengeful spirit, alongside the rest of the surviving traitors, was hounded back into the Eye of Terror. The Word-Bearers Legion took possession of the demon world of Sicarius, deep in the Eye of Terror, though Lorgar himself went into seclusion to meditate with the Chaos Powers. Erebus, as the leading Dark Apostle of the Legion, became a member of its ruling Dark Council, often locked in a permanent power struggle with the other members, such as Cor Phaeron, over the Legion's next actions as they continued the long war against the Imperium. For the following 10,000 years at least of real space-time, he was rarely seen, though the word-bearers were a major force in the 13th Black Crusade, where EREBUS led a vast fleet against Cadia itself. In the aftermath of the fall of Cadia and the spread of the Great Rift, the word-bearers led fleets across the galaxy attempting to corrupt the Imperium to their old faith, though the exact location of EREBUS is still a mystery. And this is the interesting thing about EREBUS as a whole. He was always something of an opportunist. Throughout his long lifetime of self-serving betrayal, there were definitely plans, or plans within plans, designed to hasten the fall of the Emperor. A nudge here, a small corruption there that might be useful in the future. But much of the time, the great events he set in motion seemed to be almost random, with EREBUS confident that his visions from the gods, the twisting tides of fate, and his own ability to be at the centre of things would allow him to be wherever his patrons needed him to be, to steer events in their favour. Was Horus always meant to fall specifically to Eugen Temba? Or did EREBUS just trust that something would come up? Was Garviel Loken's death really the one thing that was needed to cement the Horus heresy, or just another action that might prove meaningful? In the Warp, betrayal has a meaning in and of itself. So EREBUS...
Yo, I told y'all this before, bro. Warhammer literally, like, it's every word in the dictionary. It's every bad word in the dictionary, bro. Look at the dictionary right now. Look at every bad word. Look at a word that has a bad meaning about it. It's in Warhammer. No lie, I promise you. Look, you think I'm lying? Look, crazy work, ain't it? I told you.
Always be there, surviving the wrath of Primarchs, utterly dedicated to his own role as Hand of Fate, standing behind someone with a knife in his hand, ready to further the aims of his dark gods. What a bastard.
For real. What, bro? What a loot, bro. He's legit a school threat, y'all. Menace to society. Shout out to Orbiter Ian, man, for this video. Y'all love whenever I react to his video, so I definitely got y'all. Other than that, man, I'm gonna see y'all next time out. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Peace out, everybody.